And welcome to the Restaurant Coach Podcast. It is the cure for the common restaurant. I am so excited to have on the show today a very, very not only cool, but kind of a badass guest. This is Madison Bree. Bree owns a restaurant outside of Flint in Flushing, Michigan called Madison's on Main. And I want to say, Bree, welcome to the show. And also, full disclosure, Bree is a member of my TRC method. We have like different coaching programs. She's in our Restaurant Accelerator program. So that being said, Bree, welcome to the show. Tell us about Madison's on Main, and then tell us, how'd you get into this crazy restaurant game?
Yeah, so Madison's on Main, we just recently rebranded to Madison's on Main. So I bought the restaurant 3 years ago as Kathy's 126. Mm-hmm. And really cool story there because I was a lifelong regular of Kathy's 126. I came in from the time I was a little girl with my family up until, early 20s, getting cocktails with my parents. It's always been, my home away from home before owning the place. So it's a really special place to me, right in the heart of the town that I grew up in Flushing. So, 3 years we kept the Kathy's brand because I loved Kathy's, and then it was just time for change, something fresh and new. We just had an awesome new remodel. Everything in the restaurant, ceiling to floor is brand spanking new. And it's really cool to be a part of, I'm awesome. Grateful.
Very, very cool. And I know you just rolled out the new menu too, right? What's your favorite thing on the new menu?
Oh, well, I'm biased, of course. So yeah. My favorite menu item is called the Randy. It is a souped up surf and turf. You get a filet mignon with some red wine demi-glace. You get a southern fried perch, and you get a crab cake. And that was what my dad always used to order. That's what we called it, the Randy. And, he would order this without it being on the menu. And, I want one filet, I want one perch. I'm like, Dad, you can't order one of everything. You're messing up my inventory. So now it's on the menu and it doesn't mess up my inventory.
There you go. Doesn't mess up your inventory.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And so far, the response has been amazing for Madison's on Main. People have been coming in, flooding the place. They love it. Got great reviews and things like that. Let me ask you one question. Before you joined the program, before the TRC method, what was kind of maybe the biggest frustration or pain point that you had in your restaurant?
Things not always flowing the way that I wanted them to, right? Because I can sit back and say, okay, I've been in the restaurant industry my whole life. I've read all the books on, the way to run a restaurant. I've done all the coaching, before the TRC method. Why are we still having some longer ticket times? Why are we still having some inefficiencies in the kitchen? Why are we still running out of product? And, they say your business is a extension of you. So I'm like, hold on, if we're having problems and this is an extension of me, let's get to the root cause of it. And so then after the TRC method and learning about how much culture influences, all of those little points in the restaurant, like the efficiencies, everything. And so now when we're not treating the symptom, but we're treating the actual illness, which is that culture, and then we just build it back from the ground up, then it's like, oh, hey, everything's kind of fallen into place. This is what I want to be an extension of myself. Yes. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of in your own words, what makes the TRC method kind of different? And you said you tried some other coaching stuff, you read some books. What makes the TRC method maybe a little different than things you've done before?
I think it is exactly that with the culture, because we're not just, writing budgets on our food cost. We're not just writing budgets on our labor cost and saying, okay, this is the standard, now get it done. Right. We're actually diving deep into how to get there. And that's all through culture. That's all through, breaking old bad habits that we might have, everything that goes into the human element of the restaurants. Because to use your words, restaurants become better when the people in them become better people. So, it's not just, setting that guideline and saying, okay, now we're going to make this happen. It's the how and the why.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah. And so like, when you were like hearing about the TRC method and stuff like that, what do you think maybe people misunderstand about this kind of TRC method when they first hear about it? Like maybe what were some of your or maybe some things you're like, oh, is this gonna be like anything? What were some things you might have thought?
Well, because I see the TRC method pop up when I'm scrolling through Facebook, right? And so, my Facebook feed knows that I'm a restaurant owner, and so it's going to give me a million different, coaching programs and stuff. And so I'm scrolling through and I see it and I'm like, okay, whatever, it's just another coaching program. I didn't really care for my last one, but then, what kind of captivated me was just like the realness of it, that this isn't just, like, I know that you personally truly care about helping your clients, and yeah, so I think that really is what differentiates it, that, you yourself owned restaurants, what you're talking about. And, from your personal life, like this is what you want to help people do. Yes. So, yeah. And most coaching programs don't have that. They don't have like the real, genuine, authentic care behind it like you do.
Right. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've seen it. I've seen you evolve since you started the program and stuff like that. But how would you think your leadership has evolved? Your leadership style, maybe, since come to the TRC community?
My personal leadership style?
Yeah. What changes have you seen? I've seen some changes in you, but.
Okay, so the number one thing, because my flaw is that I'm too nice, as a leader. And, and I'm sure that's what you were thinking when you asked that question, because I'm,
It was, you got it.
Yeah, because I'd just be like, that's okay, honey, we'll do better next time. And then it's like, Bree, you're not running a daycare, you're running a restaurant. So, and, I can still keep that kind energy with the way that I lead my team. Yes. No one's asking me to turn into Nazi all of a sudden, Nope. But to, hey, these are the expectations. These are the standards, let me help you get there if we're not reaching it. But then, after so many times, we have to make changes.
Yeah. Time to shake hands and go our separate ways, right?
Yeah. Because it's not doing anybody any favors. It's, hurting the person that you're keeping in that position because they know that they can't succeed. It's hurting, everyone else in the environment and the workflow. It's hurting the customers, so hey, we're leveling up.
There you go. What do you think is like a leadership trait every restaurant owner must develop if they really want to, in the next like 3 to 5 years, what's like one trait owners need to develop if they want to really, actually thrive, not just survive?
Discipline.
Ooh, that's a
discipline.
Powerful one. Yeah. And most of us lack discipline.
Yeah. And what you call it, the standard degradation effect, right?
Yep.
So, without that discipline, without me saying, hey, this is what we stand for, this is how we do it, this is how we get there, and being disciplined in what, we want to see the business do, we want to see our staff do, we want to see our guests do, that's what you need. And saying, hey, this is what we're doing every day.
That's it. And there's not open for debate. It's like, it's that line in the sand. What do we always make the joke of? A standard's called a standard because it's a standard. It's not called a flexible option.
Right.
That's why it's called a standard, people. It's not called a flexible option. It's called a standard because it's standard. So culture, I'm always big on culture. We have that. So the TRC method, basically, I would say, is like a frame within a frame. And in the frame within a frame, it's basically it's a 3x3 framework. So the main frame is people, product, process. Inside that, in the people part, there's mindset, culture, hiring. In the product part, there's food cost, menu, marketing. In the process part, it's system, strategy, and profitability. And the first part we always have everyone hit is that people part, which a lot of times, when people are coming into the coaching program, of course, they see the shiny object like, oh, marketing, I just need that. Oh, profitability, I just need that. And I always tell them, like, unless you get the people part right, the other part won't stick. You might have like moments where it's good, but it's not sustainable without that culture piece. In your experience with culture, what's the easiest thing to overlook, but also the hardest thing to fix?
I mean, habits. When you say the hardest thing to fix, I do think that habits really, you think about any of your personal habits that are hard to break, and then you try to get other people to break those habits.
Mhm.
Now it's like, yeah. And that can really be something sneaky, that it's easy to overlook someone's bad habit. Like, oh yeah, that's just Dan, that's just the way that they do things. And
Yeah.
then
We just make excuses.
bringing everybody in.
That's just the way he
Yeah.
is. He's just a curmudgeon. He's just
Yeah.
an old grumpy old guy. He's just the way he is. Oh, he's toxic. He needs to go. Exactly.
And I use the name Dan. Dan's one of our best guys, so we're not talking about Dan.
But we're using a name Dan in general. Sorry. And if Dan's listening, Dan, we're not talking about you. Don't worry, you're good. You're safe. You're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We love you, Dan.
We love you, Dan. Exactly. So as far as, like, profitability leaks, we talk a lot about profitability leaks, like holes in the bucket. Where do you see, where do you think was some of your profitability leaks that you weren't really aware of before you started the TRC method?
Labor cost for me. And it does come in with my, natural disposition to be a coddler and say, oh, that's okay, honey,
Stay as long as you need to.
Because yeah. And then we've got, crazy labor cost and, oh, how did that happen? I have no idea.
No, really, it's like, until you see payroll, you're like, what? What has happened? How did that blow up that big? What? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've done that before. Like in my first restaurant, I would be like, I was very similar. I mean, the reason I can coach from authenticity is because I've had most every problem I help restaurant owners with. I had those problems at my first restaurant because, again, I knew how to run a restaurant. I didn't know how to build a business at my first place. And it wasn't until I got a business coach that really helped me kind of see the light. And I was the same way. I was like, oh, payroll should be good. And then all of a sudden I see payroll and like, whoa, okay. Where's that little brown bag to breathe into? It's like, I'm going to have a panic attack. Like way more than I thought. What happened? And it's like, oh, well, remember, like Freddie stayed over like 20 minutes and then Sarah stayed over another, 45 minutes. And then, Joey came in at half hour early and clocked in. And I wasn't watching the clock in, clock out. So letting people just ride the clock and wasn't paying attention to it. And like you, I just want to let people, I wanted people to be happy and I wanted to make sure they stayed and they worked, but I didn't hold them accountable, which killed
exactly.
me.
Yeah.
And then as far as like guest satisfaction, what's like one thing that you changed using the TRC method that had an immediate maybe ripple effect with your guest?
An easy one is just, going back to that culture, like the No I workshop and our code of conduct. So it's in our code of conduct, like the 10-4 rule, right? So you make eye contact and smile within 10 feet of someone, you say something positive within 4 feet of somebody, and that's just something that, like, as we're going through our days, if you're a server, oh my gosh, I got to get this food to this table. We're all super busy all the time trying to get stuff done, right? So it's something that might really fly under the radar is to just say hi, have that human interaction. So
being a human being, what a new concept, right? Yeah. I hate to say that the chains ruined it. I mean, the chains are actually like they took the hospitality out of the restaurant industry, and they made it all just about food. Just like serving substance. Just getting a meal and not really having the experience. Which I think that's another thing I think most restaurants are just struggling with. Is they've lost touch with what's it mean to give a real experience, not just like put food on a plate and shove it in front of somebody and then say, "Here's your ticket, here's your check, pay for it. All right, next." Not like a transaction, but actually having this interaction, this human connection with people is what I think most restaurants are missing. And I really see you, especially with the new rebrand with Madison's on Main, I see you really, really pushing that forward as far as you want to have that full kind of human interaction experience with the new brand. So, yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's why I fell in love with the restaurant industry to begin with, because there really is magic in restaurants to be the gathering place where memories are made and all of that. And, we do, getting back to that code of conduct, our last but not least element is that we never forget the human element. right?
So,
I don't care how busy you are behind the line. We always remind our staff, hey,
mm,
that sandwich that you're making could be going to a single mom who it's her first time out in a year. And this
yeah,
is, the first time that she's treating herself. You never know,
you never know.
and it's always, yeah.
We tend
Yeah,
to
that's gotta be
generalize it. Like we see table numbers like table 14. But yeah, like table 14, somebody having an experience. And like you said, you don't know what they're going through. The beautiful thing about restaurants is, I mean, people go to restaurants to celebrate all kinds of things. All kinds of things. Yeah. Now, a lot of restaurant owners will say to me, like, I'll get calls every week from, new restaurant owners talking about their business and talking about, what's going on with the industry. And they always think there's a labor crisis. Do you think it's really a labor crisis? Do you think it's really a hiring problem, or do you think it's a leadership problem?
I think it's a leadership problem for sure.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Yeah, I don't think it's a people problem. I don't think it's a this generation problem. I think that, yeah. And from my experience in restaurants, because I've been,
You've been in a
if
long
you want to
time.
count scooping ice cream, yeah, it's been since I was 15. And throughout all of like the other restaurants that I've managed before becoming an owner, places do not teach leadership.
Nope.
They do not teach, how to coach, I guess, instead of manage, because that is a huge difference. That managing is extremely reactive instead of proactive. Managing is, do this, don't do that. You're getting compliance instead of commitment. True leadership is, teaching and helping someone get from point A to point B, and that's huge.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and in the TRC method, we have like this huge like library. Like the TRC library is really thousands and thousands of hours of coaching material, training material. But one of the things I've really focused on the last couple of years is we started developing a library for leadership. It's called a leadership roadmap, and leadership roadmap has like 9 courses that like Bree can give out to her leadership team to help to get them those soft skills. Because like she just said, no one teaches leadership. We work on the hard skills so much. We want cooks to be faster cooks, better cooks, cut better, stuff like that. But how do we teach people to actually communicate better? How do we teach people how to listen? How do people how to deal with stress? How do people deal with time management? How do we teach them just to be active listeners? So we've really, in the last couple of years, I've really put a full court press on developing this leadership roadmap. It's like a series of courses that like all my members, they can have access to, all their leadership team can have access to give them those soft skills that they really need. And I think it starts making a big impact and stuff like that when your team starts getting on the same page with you. Yeah.
For sure. And they love it. It doesn't feel like to them like, oh yeah, Bree's giving me some homework. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so great, because it's not just leadership in the restaurant setting. It's skills that they can take with them throughout their whole life.
They're actually life skills. Yeah. Soft skills, I always say, like soft skills are life skills. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, everyone needs to learn how to communicate better. Everyone needs to learn how to manage your time better. Everyone needs to learn how to manage your stress a little bit better. Yeah, the things we teach is like stuff like it's basically life skills. It's not even just like, they're not even just restaurant skills.
Yeah.
So self-care. I talk about self-care a lot, right? Do you think self-care is a luxury or a necessity for restaurant owners?
Yeah, coming from me, who will just, naturally put all self-care to the side and say, we're just going to full steam ahead, business only. That's it. I can be a human robot, no, that doesn't work. It's absolutely a necessity. Yeah, it's.
And how do you take care of yourself? I love you put really cool things on your calendar. Tell people, tell people, share some of that stuff if you don't mind. It's really cool. I like, because I had this question like, what is that?
Yeah. So my, standard calendar, it starts, 7:00 in the morning. Yep. That is, meditation time. 7:30 in the morning, that's reading time. 8 a.m. That's my exercise time. And then we go throughout my day, right? And then we get to 8 p.m. And 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. is always fuck up time. And that's what Donald was like, what's that?
A lot of my members, I have them like screenshot their calendars and send them to me. So I just see how they're planning today, because we focus a lot on time management and being effective, not just being busy. And then she wrote this thing, like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's like, Bree, I say, Bree, what is that? I have no idea what that is. You gotta explain it to me. So explain what that is.
Right. And so that's what most people would call like, buffer time, or, this is a time block to catch up. But yeah, not in my world. That's, time. So that's why I was like, okay, that's usually when I'm, asking my mom how her day went, or, it's just transitional time between work and home, if I stay over, work a little bit later. But it's, basically if I want to go to the grocery store, if I want to, do anything, that's my time.
Oh. I need to start putting it on my calendar too. I need some time on my calendar too. Yeah, because I'm pretty structured. I'm like you. I'm pretty structured. My morning's super structured. I have like my hour of power in the morning where I do my meditation, I do my Bible, I get my get my supplements in. Then I head to the gym, I do my workout, and then I usually come back. And then I do my prep for like the calls for the day and stuff like that. But I need a little fuck up time in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, we all need a little time. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure you add a little time on your calendar for yourself.
Yes.
You gotta have it. Yeah.
Well, on a real note though, that's why time blocking didn't work for me at the beginning, because I would just time block everything back to back to back. And then if I didn't make that whole calendar, I'm like, oh, I'm a failure, you know?
We all do that.
So, so all jokes aside, I mean, it really is important to schedule in that time for yourself to say like, hey, this is, you get pulled in a million directions a day. So this is your overlapping time,
At that buffer. Yep. And if you don't want to call it time, you can call it buffer time. If you're a little more, you want to be a little more nicer than Bree. Bree and I are a little more, more raw into the restaurant industry. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So if you came with a warning label, what would your warning label say?
Oh, crap.
Oh crap! You're warning label. Oh crap!
Oh crap! Yeah. Ooh. I think the people that know me well would have a better time answering that than me myself. That's an easy time to pick on me. My warning label would say, make sure you do your best, because that's my number one trigger is when I see people, they're lying to cover their tracks, or they're that's like the instant way to make me not explode, because we don't do that anymore because I've had coaching.
Now you basically pause and process.
Yes.
And you do box breathing.
Yep.
I box breathe, and then I basically am in with anger, out with love.
That's right. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah. All right. And so thinking back, like when you were a little kid, right? What was the first thing you dreamed of becoming? And I know it wasn't a restaurant owner.
Maybe
it was.
It was a chef.
You want to be a chef? Oh, nice.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, that was my dream, was to go to culinary school.
When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a zoologist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I was like 8th grade. I decided I want to be an architect then. But then I found out I can't draw. So then that went out. That dream went out the window. I was like, I want to be an architect, but man, Donald, you can't even draw a straight line. So okay, that's not gonna work for you. All right.
Yeah.
So then I did not want to be a chef after working with my dad in college. I remember like when I was 18, he told me it was in your blood. I'm like, I don't want transfusion. I don't want to do this. Yeah. So that's why I went into the military, because I had to find something else to do for a while. And then strangely enough, like, the universe works in mysterious ways. God works in mysterious ways. I started working in college, working in restaurants, and found out I just really loved the business and decided to go all in. Yep.
Yeah.
So what's the absolute best meal you've ever had?
That's a tough one, because a lot of times at the end of the day, the best meal you've ever had really isn't even about the meal. It's about the people that you're sharing the meal with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any meal with my
when
family.
I ask this question, when I ask this question to owners, a lot of times they'll pick out like, some fancy restaurant, like, French Laundry per se, things like that. And I always say, like, the best meal I've ever had. I remember one day in the summer with my grandmother. I went out to the garden. She harvested these fresh tomatoes. She brought them inside. She sliced them up. She put them on bread with just some mayonnaise. Her and I just sat there and had tomato sandwiches, and it was like the best meal I ever had in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could sit down with any chef, any leader, any historical figure, past, present, alive or dead, who would it be? Anybody. Have one meal.
Anybody. Mark Twain.
Really?
Yeah.
Why Mark Twain?
Yep. He's been my favorite author ever since I was a kid. I just have a book of like his quotes, his way of looking at the world. He's the most interesting historical figure to me. You know, born with a comet and died with a comet. I mean, I think that man was made from the stars. And
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, most people like a lot of people pick like sports figures. Like I get a lot of times, I'd like to have dinner with Michael Jordan. You know, it's like okay. Yeah. How about who else? If you had to pick another one.
You know, and that question's come up before in my life, and it's like it's always old authors. Like my number two is Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. I love old English literature.
He was deep. He was dark. Man, that would be fun to have dinner with Edgar Allan Poe and just kind of like, and just kind of like lean over and go, man, what was going on with you? What mushrooms were you taking, man? Because that's some weird stuff, man. You know?
Right.
Yeah. And then you also recently you started a foundation.
I did. Yeah.
Talk about your foundation real quick.
So the foundation's in honor of my dad. When my dad was alive, he had his company Renovation Randy, and you know he was in construction. He owned this construction company, and there would be so many times that my dad would come home from work. You know, my mom would ask him how his day was, and my dad would start talking about, you know, we had a job for this woman. She was recently widowed, you know, or you know, we had this job for this guy. He just had a stroke. He needed a ramp built, you know. And so every time, you know, my dad never admitted it, but my mom would ask and say, you didn't charge him or her, did you? And right. And
no, I didn't.
Right. And, you know, anyone who knew my dad, that was the waves that he made, was just pure generosity, you know, give you the shirt off his back. And so the foundation in his honor is the Renovation Randy Foundation. So that was a startup that we just had in the last few months, and you know we've already raised quite a bit of funds through the restaurant, you know, through our partnership with the restaurant, and we're going to be helping a couple families this Christmas with renovations around their house free of charge. Yeah,
that's really awesome.
So. Yep.
Yeah, that kind of stuff just feels good. One of my favorite charities I like donate time to. I have another company that does it has apparel. It's called Energy Active Apparel. It's a company I own, and everything from that company goes to No Kid Hungry. So all the proceeds from that company go to No Kid Hungry, because I think childhood hunger is a huge thing. That's a problem in the United States. There's so much abundance, but kids tend to still go hungry, and there's no reason why. So that's been one of my big pet projects for years. Is I've always been a big advocate of really supporting No Kid Hungry. So yeah, but I think every restaurant owner should have some kind of foundation or charity that you just feel that's in your heart that you want to give to, because that's what the business is about. It's not just about what, you know, a lot of people think, I just want to get guests to come in, but you know, what are you giving back to the community? What are you giving back to people that live in your neighborhood, stuff like that? So I'm really proud of you for doing that, because I know that was a passion project, and I know every time you even think about it, your eyes get a little swollen up a little bit thinking about it. But it's good though. Yeah.
It is, and it's, you know, the best scenario of a silver lining that I can possibly, you know, pull off. That, you know, it is about our community. The restaurant is about our community. The foundation is about our community. And we get to do that in my dad's name and build a little bit of a legacy for him. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What do you think is an unpopular opinion that people have about the restaurant industry, or maybe a myth, or maybe a stereotype people have about the restaurant industry?
Well, my least favorite one, my staff hears me talk about this all the time, is that, you know, oh, well, that's not a real job, you know, or people have this conception that it is like, if you're a service industry worker, you're like a ditch digger or a,
Temporary. Yeah.
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 When people don't really understand the skills needed to work in this industry, and it is by and far a profession. And, yeah. So we're on a mission every day to break those preconceived notions, because, it's something that I personally hate. When I see someone who like wouldn't give me the time of day when I was a bartender, but now that I'm a business owner, they're like, oh, hey, let me be your best friend. I'm like, yeah. So
I remember you.
Yeah.
Asshole. I remember you. Yeah.
Right. Right. But yeah, I mean, just looking at my staff, the amount that they give to the restaurant, the amount that they give to the community, and that their hearts and passion really are all in this. You can't look at that and say, oh, this is just a part-time job, or it doesn't take any skills or anything like that. It takes a lot of skills.
It does. It takes a lot of skills, a lot of training, a lot of refinement, a lot of practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could get one superpower to run your restaurant, what would it be, and how would you use it? And please use it for good. I'm trusting you.
Not evil. Oh, well, the ability to stop time. That'd be great.
Oh, that's or a time machine, huh?
Yeah.
Ability to stop time, like stop time, but you could move it around in time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're gonna stop the time right now, and then you can
move around. You can move in time, and everyone else is like frozen, and you can move around and move stuff around.
Yes, but my whole team can too. I want everybody to have this ability. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
No one will ever wait for food.
That's it. Like, you stop time, and all of a sudden their food's like right in front of them.
Yes.
That might freak people out. It's like, whoa, what do you mean? Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
It'd be that creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. That well done steak only takes 30 seconds.
Now, when you stop time, it only takes that well done steak usually takes 20. Now it's 30 seconds at the most.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like when I ask restaurant owners this, I get all kinds of stuff. Like, some people want to be able to fly. Some people want super speed. Like, they want to be like the Flash. Some people want super smart. Someone says, I want super brain power. Yeah. Time, though, you're the first person to ever mention time, which is really, really cool. Okay.
Nice.
If your restaurant had a mascot to represent its culture, what would that mascot be?
Does it have to be like an animal or a person?
Could be anything. Any mascot.
Mascot to represent its culture.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a person, like the Fighting Irish have a leprechaun, right?
Yeah. No, I would say, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is like a phoenix.
There you go.
But I've been watching a lot of Harry Potter lately, so that could, yeah.
actually, for what your brand is now, it actually is, because Madison's on Main is like the phoenix from Kathy's, and you've actually brought it out of the ashes and you're bringing it back to life. So I think a phoenix actually would be a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
We should find like a big phoenix, like painting or something like that, or something we could put somewhere, like maybe some phoenix wings that people could take pictures of at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Stand here and have the phoenix wings.
The phoenix wings, yeah. Like Matt and Stephanie, who have Slam Dunk Pizza, they put pizza wings on their wall. They're doing some crazy stuff. They have like pizza. You know how like a lot of, like you go to there's usually like on street murals, they have the big angel wings on the street, and you stand between the wings, and then people get their photos taken. They have big pizza wings on their wall, and people stand between the pizza wings, and it looks like they have pizza angel wings. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. All right. This next part of the podcast is what I call in and out. Right? Is it in or is it out? And usually these are fads or trends or just things that I've seen on the internet. And all you gotta do is just basically no explanation. Just gotta say in or out. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Sriracha.
In.
Smash burgers.
In.
Burrito.
In.
All right. Nashville hot chicken.
I love it. Out.
Cauliflower is a meat substitute.
Cauliflower is a meat substitute.
Mhm.
Out.
Out. Hot honey.
Out.
Hard seltzers.
In. Begrudgingly.
How about mocktail?
In. Big in.
Big in. How about flavored
rolled out a new-
cold? How about flavored cold foam on coffee?
That's in, actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Yeah. And then what's a book, maybe a podcast or an audio book that you recommend? You're a big reader, so like it doesn't have to be like a restaurant book. Like what's one book, a podcast, anything that you would recommend that people read?
Yeah, one that just had a really big impact on me, and this can be a book and a podcast because it's Ed Milet's The Power of One More. That book is amazing, and his podcast in general is amazing.
Yeah, he's a really, really awesome. Yeah. And then what's a quote you like to live by?
Got a couple. I'll do this one. Raise your standards.
Raise your standards.
Raise your standards.
Yeah. TRC, raise your standards. All right. That's a good quote. Yeah.
Yep.
And we give out, like, all my members get, like, we get a little swag and stuff like that. We give out wristbands, hats, we have t-shirts. We always want like little ways to just, we call them nudges. And that's the best thing to do, is because when you're constantly just reminded of something, it just kind of stays in the front of your brain, and then you basically implement a little bit more. So what's one thing you want every restaurant owner listening to this week to make? What's one thing that any restaurant owner could do this week to start making more money?
Social media.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell your story on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and not just posting pictures of your food, but talking about talk about your people, talk about your guests, your staff, why you do what you do.
Exactly. And if there's any restaurateurs listening to this podcast that are kind of on the fence about jumping into a coaching program, what would you tell them it's really like getting coached with me?
Well,
be honest.
No, for sure. Any decision you're going to be on the fence about, like me pushing the trigger, to do the go button for, like, hey, it's a lot of money, and I don't know, you're always going to be on the fence about it because you're a business owner, and so you're going to make a calculated decision on what's best for your business. Right. But it's not like any other coaching program, and I know that because I have done other coaching programs. If you want real results in your restaurant and you want the real way to get there, then just do it. That's what I think. And
then what would you say is like one word to describe your restaurant today versus before you joined the TRC method?
Structured.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. I get structured a lot. I get aligned a lot. A lot of times people say aligned. A lot of times you're the first person to say structured, but yeah, that's a good one too. And then you guys are on social media. How can people find you guys on social? How find you or your restaurant on social media?
Madison's on Main.
Madison's on Main. And that's your website too, right?
Yep. Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
And your website,
yep. Madison'sOnMain.com.
Madison'sOnMain.com.
What's that?
Go to the website. If you're up in what's it? Flushing?
Flushing, yep, it's right outside of Flint.
Outside of Flint. If you're up in that area, please stop by Madison's on Main. I mean, I haven't been up there yet. Luckily my daughter does live in Michigan, so I actually plan on being at your restaurant sometime, because I actually go up to Michigan to see my daughter every once in a while. But yeah, awesome. If you're in Michigan and you want to experience like a great owner who is passionate, compassionate, really, really trying to do a lot with her community, right? Doing the right things, trying to, just elevate everyone that she works with. Then stop by Madison's on Main. Stop by, see Bree. She'd be more happy to help you out and show you around, maybe even give you a tour. She might be in the kitchen cooking in high heels. Right? But you're wearing an apron.
The habit I'm trying to break.
That's one of the
I am wearing an apron now.
You are wearing an apron, yeah. So she has a tendency to she's very hands-on owner. She likes to jump in the kitchen like when they get kind of in the weeds. I mean, she'll jump back there with her, she dresses like a businesswoman, but she has like a skirt on and high heels, and she's back there in the kitchen, throwing down in the kitchen with the team. And the team always gives you a hard time, don't they?
They do. Because I'll just jump in and start helping. This Bree, grab an apron. We're sick of seeing you ruin all your skirts.
Ruin all your clothes. Yeah, ruin your clothes. Ruin your shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be wearing those Christian Louboutins in the kitchen. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That would be a bad idea. Yeah, definitely. Bree, I want to say, number one, it's an honor to be your coach. I am so grateful to have you in the program. I'm really impressed by all the stuff you've done in a short amount of time. You've only been in a program for a few months, but you've made huge leaps and bounds, especially with the new rollout, with the new brand. I'm excited to see where we take, where Madison's on Main goes in 2026. I'm excited about the future for you and for your restaurant and for your personal life too. It's going to be an amazing thing for everything. So thanks for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I super appreciate you being my coach too.